Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. That's major news network on your apps as far as your smartphones and your Google Play Station. So as peace agreements were going on between Russia and the Ukraine, Zalinsky attacks Russia with 337 drones, slamming into Moscow, making it to where it's going to be almost impossible. I'm seeing a connection between the way Zalinsky has peace talks and Bibi Netanyahu. And also in Israel, they are revolting against Bibi, the Zionist, as for his war crimes and doing the same thing. We're uncovering a lot of crimes. We're realizing that Biden signed none of his executive orders. They were all done with an auto pen. He was at one cabinet meeting during his final year. I want you to think about everything that Anthony Blinken got away with as he supplied Netanyahu and Israel with tons of war weaponry, with no oversight, just doing haphazardly what he wanted to do. We have super tankers that have collided out in the middle of the ocean, and you wouldn't believe how many hokey oil men have been contacting me about the deal in Rotterdam and Amsterdam. And I'm sure for everybody that's lost their money, that's going to be your oil, your jet fuel that just went up. That's not the way we do things in the oil and gas business, just so you know. But I am going to be setting up ships and shipping for the Gulf of America. We are moving that into high action. And we're moving that into high action because we have a president that actually wants me to get the lead out of my butt so that we can bring our economy and make it awesome again. But we basically want to question now any of the pardons from Jack Wagon Joe since he didn't sign anything. So are they real? And that's something that we can examine. The other thing is, out of the cartels, we got the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, but we have another cartel called the Zeta cartel. And United States agents have apprehended the brothers of the Zeta cartel, and they are now in an American jail cell. I'd like to congratulate ICE agents in the great state of Texas as we arrested over 646 criminals. Over 80% of these people had active warrants for their arrest. In the state of Washington, New York, we almost had about 100 of them arrested, so we're almost having at least a good 1,000 people that we're apprehending a day. If you're an illegal alien and you need to get out of here, you can now use the app and you can leave peacefully. If we apprehend you, you're going to go to Guantanamo Bay and you might get starved for 2 weeks. I'm hearing it's not a good experience, but then again, you guys are felons, and felons don't need to get good experiences. We do have people being charged for treason right now. 2 Chinese guys and a white guy, but they're basically selling secrets to China. Trump seems to say that he likes Xi Jinping. I want America to know that Xi Jinping has modified the Chinese Constitution where he's violating the Chinese Constitution. He's a dictator. And he's responsible for the Wuhan virus. I want you to know we have conclusive proof that Dr. Anthony Fauci is guilty of investing with NIH. This was exposed clearly by Rand Paul and later on by RFK Jr. We need to have basically accountability and for crimes against humanity. And if we can't do it, I suggest we give them to President Putin so that we can see some accountability happen. Elon Musk and Joe Rogan started to expose Big Mike. Well, you're only a few years too late, but that's something that we all know. And I'm going to show you later on in the show how the Ukraine is actively going down, hunting down their own men to fight for a war that nobody believes in. We have the Secret Service. They went and shot this guy named Travis Long, 47 years old, who was walking around the White House with a gun. And we have Jamie White. Now, this is an interesting story coming out of the great state of Texas, but this is an assistant journalist of Alex Jones at INFOWARS. And we have Jamie White gunned down. And is this common? No, this is the 8th murder in Austin, Texas. And we have Alex Jones blaming Alex Soros and George Soros with a crooked DA in Austin, Texas. And I'm going to ask you, how often is Alex Jones wrong? This is something that we need to examine. We need to immediately apprehend and seize all Soros communications. That USAID money was misappropriated. We have them giving up locations for ICE agents, putting our sheriff, our police, and our ICE agents at risk of getting killed. That's the only excuse we need, and now we have a dead journalist. And I'll remind everybody, Alex Jones was the only person to call the election right, the first one. But we have Jamie White, journalist of INFOWARS, murdered, shot dead in Austin, Texas, going from INFOWARS back to his house, trailed, and professionally they did a hit job. Major news, in my opinion. Now, as far as you see MBS behind me, he might be becoming a Christian. But at the same time, I'm hearing King Charles might be becoming a Muslim. Isn't that funny? So you have the King of Saudi going to be becoming a Christian, and you have the King of England going to be becoming a Muslim. Well, we have some interesting things. We got protests about Bibi. The Admiral Nakhimov warship is being released. And we have basically Russia looking good on several fronts. And how are we going to respond? But Russia is going to respond to Zalinsky. Here, there, we're going to go do a peace talk just because of President Trump, and Zalinsky responds by attacking Russia during the peace talk agreement. So Trump was right. He said, I don't think Zalinsky wants peace, and actions speak louder than words. He doesn't. So on behalf of the American people, Putin, don't know how long that was going on. We need to stop doing wars and being the bully for so many people. And it's such a bad thing that we are doing. But we have Zelensky attacking Russia with 377 drones while we have a peace agreement like in the midst at the request from President Trump. It's just unacceptable. And so at the same time, as we have the Ukraine attacking Russia and Moscow, at the same moment we have the Ukraine maybe doing a cyber attack on X. I'm sure you heard about that. So simultaneously, they tried to paint this off on Somalia, and I was like, I'm sorry, they can't even really build a building in Somalia, or, you know, they're not manufacturing clothes, so to speak. So I didn't believe the cyber attack could have come from there. Then they stemmed it into the Ukraine, and I'm like, okay, this is more believable. And then simultaneously, the Ukraine then attacks Russia. Again, we had Trump identify the fact that Zelensky wasn't wanting peace, and his actions are speaking louder than words. Another person that doesn't want peace would be Benjamin Netanyahu, and I do believe that this last administration was completely worked over by Israel and by completely by the Ukraine and by Israel. I want you to notice how they couldn't stand for a Mexican girl that was murdered. They couldn't stand. That's racism. She was murdered, and they couldn't stand for a Mexican girl that was murdered. They could not stand for a black boy DJ, 13 with brain cancer, to be an honorary Secret Service agent. That's racism. I want you to see they couldn't stand for a Mexican girl or a black boy or a white girl. that was killed by illegal aliens. The only thing that they could stand for was for the Ukrainian war and for transgender stuff. And these are the same people that were used to be there for the working man, but yet today they want to steal our taxes and our tips. They have no platform. In fact, when you look at them, they look like a bunch of degenerate white art school weirdos. So we have, and most of them look like people that would have a job at USAID. That's right. So we have gone from an 83% to 92, 94% firing of the personnel and the people at USAID. And that's good news for you and me, but today they've been ordered to shred and get rid of all their documents. I want you to think about that, America. They're getting rid of the evidence that proves that they're a fraud. I also think that Alex Jones's employee was murdered because they were going to investigate the USAID fraud from these empty buildings here in Texas. And USAID is tied into Soros, all that stuff. We couldn't even compete. We were trying to buy radio stations and we were getting overbid every time on the asking price. I even would go over the asking price, and every time George Soros was beating me from Texas all the way up to South Dakota. And I was demanding, remember over this last week, that you hand over those radio stations to American News Network, Newsmax, INFOWARS. And look what happened. 83% of USAID has been axed and overhauled. These are crimes, and now they are destroying the evidence. And I want you to know that. And it's horrible evidence, and we can't accept it. I'm going to backtrack us just so people can hear some interesting stuff. And this is by one of the few senators that actually works for you and I. But the reason is I think it's so ultra important that we don't let Dr. Anthony Fauci get away with murder. He needs to be held accountable for gain of function and making these viruses that could basically take out humanity. He needs to be held accountable for his crimes, using money with NIH, pulling away wicked war crimes in Wuhan. We're doing the same thing in the Ukraine. Let's not try to fool people on as to how evil our government is. It's a matter of how are we going to hold these people accountable that have been raping children, that have been also, and I'm talking about the Epstein list, and this Dr. Anthony Fauci creep here.
The type of research that is of concern that might lead to a dangerous situation. You are aware of that. That is called P3CO.
We're aware that you deleted gain of function from the NIH website.
Well, I can get back to that in a moment if we have time, but let's get back to the operating framework and guide rails of which we operate under. And you have ignored them. The guidelines are very, very clear that you have to be dealing with a pathogen that clearly is shown and very likely to be highly transmissible in an uncontrollable way in humans and to have a high degree of morbidity and mortality, and that you do experiments to enhance that, hence the word EPPP, enhanced pathogens of pandemic.
So when EcoHealth
pandemic.
Alliance took the virus,
I would love to
SHC014,
finish.
and combined it with WIV1 and caused a recombinant virus that doesn't exist in nature, and it made mice sicker, mice that had humanized cells, you're saying that that's not gain-of-function research?
According to the framework and guidelines.
So what you're doing is defining away gain-of-function. You're simply saying it doesn't exist because you changed the definition on the NIH website. This is terrible, and you're completely trying to escape the idea that we should do something about trying to prevent a pandemic from leaking from a lab. There's the preponderance of evidence now points towards this coming from the lab. And what you've done is change the definition on your website to try to cover your ass, basically. That's what you've done. You've changed the website to try to have a new definition that doesn't include the risky research that's going on. Until you admit that it's risky, we're not going to get anywhere. You have to admit that this research was risky. The NIH has now rebuked them. Your own agency has rebuked them. But the thing is you're still unwilling to admit that they gained in function when they say they became sicker. They gained in lethality. It's a new virus. That's not gain of function?
According to the definition that is currently operable, Senator, let's make it clear for the people who are listening. The current definition was done over a 2 to 3 year period by outside bodies, including the NSABB, 2 conferences by the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine.
Yeah.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Yeah. What I want you to notice right here is how Joe can't even respond. He can't even move. He's hanging out with all these black people, and he can't even move his body. He's completely out of it. And the nation knows. We know we've been duped. And now we know that he didn't sign any pardons. We know that, that means that all of his pardons are questionable on if he was even cognitively there. But we have a man that's probably not able to draw his own signature. That throws everything out of whack. And also, I want to bring up again the fact that where did the 20 million voters go that voted for you, that just didn't show up this time? You see, that's how we know that your election was rigged. And we got a lot of Democrats we need to analyze, but I'm telling you, high crimes and felonies, and they're out there. And all we got to really witness was elder abuse. I mean, we got to hand it to Jill Biden as she kind of kept it. And she said, "Oh, Joe, you answered all of the questions. You did such a good job, Joe." I mean, we have been played. You should have seen his face. This was as they were making this spectacle for us to believe, we were letting our United States cabinet get away with murder. We killed off the Ukraine. We let Israel get away with murder because our entire cabinet was from Israel. And that's what I want to bring up. We can't have such a slanted cabinet or a Supreme Court. We need a way to have way more interracialness in our Supreme Court and our cabinet, meaning a black man, a black woman, Hispanic man, Hispanic woman, Asian man, Asian woman, white man, white woman. We can divide it to where it's more fair, and then we're actually going to be all equally represented. But at this point, we have abuse to the highest degree. And Jackwagon Joe, and whatever happened here, we are just so lucky that Putin didn't take the bait and annihilate us. Now, is there interesting stuff going on as far as this super tanker collision? And I'm going to say, look, you know how many of you that were doing that hokey deal in Amsterdam, Rotterdam are going to say that that was your oil? The danger is that there was a lot of sodium cyanide in the other stuff, and this could have been a way more catastrophic accident than what they're letting on to be. So just by the grace of God, we were able to avoid a major catastrophe, but we have a U.S. military fuel tanker that collided with the cargo ship, and the cargo ship had cyanide in it, and who knows how bad that's going to be as far as with the, as far as with the environment. But Trump was right, and this is what I got to let you know. He was right as far as Zelensky not wanting peace. And as the peace negotiations were to take place, as they were taking place, Zelensky hits Putin with 337 drones. So we have Putin responding, hitting Kursk, hitting it hard, and I believe that we have a ticking time clock now as far as to where we're not going to be seeing anything happening at all. And you're going to be seeing, remember I've talked about NATO and it falling and the EU and it falling. Well, this is the NATO capital as it burns and it clashes. And stone pelting that's happening in Bucharest after a ban on the far right. But Romania's election body on Sunday rejected Callan and his candidacy to run in the electoral rerun. And so we have some disarray that's happening, but more importantly, like I'm trying to tell people, Europe, you need to bind in your Christian ways and protect your borders like Hungary, or you will have no more Europe. You need to understand that as far as in Hinduism and in Islam, it's to come into society and to infiltrate to where your numbers are in the majority, and then they win just through that. And that's pretty much what's going on. And we need to have all of that accountability that is going on. What you're seeing behind me is the immediate retaliation as far as from the people that launched the drones. The United States is standing back. We're wondering if Putin is going to be launching Oreshnik now directly into Kiev to kill Zelensky. We shall be able to see in the next 48 hours as far as what's going to go on. But there has been just so much death that's happened, unnecessary death. And I'm going to go blame Zelensky and Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu and everybody that conspired in the name of evil with the United States of America. The Ukraine's just been hijacking their own men left and right. There's nothing but 12-year-old boys running rampant throughout the country. And it's in a state of disarray completely caused by evil business. And that's meddling of the United States of America. Russia's had gas pipelines that have gone through with Kiev, proving that there is business relationships. We know that we've had biological war things. We also know that NATO has encroached onto Russia. And that's been a violation of what we have said since day one. We also know that Europe is using us like a bully while we have been funding all of NATO. And so the time for that is to stop, and that's what President Trump is saying. But what I'm letting you know is the scale of all the death from the Ukraine has not been reported to us truthfully, and that at least over 500,000 men are just buried throughout the countryside. And it was all caused by our crooked administration. And those are just things that we cannot let our country continue to get away with, because it just makes us look so bad, and we're better than that. We've had so many airplane disasters, now shipping disasters. And I could say it's a bad thing, but I'm going to say it's a good thing, because now's the time for the United States Merchant Marines to be reinstated, to be uplifted. We need to start creating American ships, American jobs, and dominating the ocean once again. And so we can dominate in oil, dominate in transportation, American independence, American ingenuity. And I see that we're going to take these first steps together. So when I see these accidents, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's the world's way of saying that they need America back. So we have another thing that this is something Gary Franchi did that was pretty interesting with the Next News Network, but he was talking to somebody that we love in the great state of Oklahoma. I'm going to give him a few seconds here, but this is the Tiger King. And my 2 cents on this is, believe it or not, he was the third in line to be governor in the state of Oklahoma. Was this not just a clever way to take a governor candidate out? And we've all seen the Tiger King movie, and as far as his involvement on it, and so to portray him to say he was doing organized crime, a man that everybody knows and kind of loves in the community, is just really a lot to swallow. So President Trump, perhaps you can once again think about that pardon for the Tiger King in the great state of Oklahoma, because he deserves to have it. And now you know even more so how it feels to be wrongfully accused of something that's, that you're not guilty of.
Now let's get back to President Trump. You've asked for a pardon from President Trump before. What happened there, and what is your message to him right now? I mean, he's watching right now.
I asked for a pardon in 2018 to 2020, and I really thought I was going to get it in 2020, and then January 6th happened. So right now I would like to say, President Trump, I'm pleading to be released from federal prison. I haven't done anything wrong. I've lost everything I've ever worked for, the American dream that we're supposed to strive for. I made it 55 years without a speeding ticket, sir, and I've done good my whole life, okay? I'm not a danger to the public. I would like to come back out and continue my charity work for the homeless people, for the homeless vets, for sick and dying little kids like I used to, and I can make you proud. But one thing that I would like you to allow me to do when I do leave here is I want to testify in front of Congress about the federal prison system, because nothing about what goes on in here helps fix anything. Okay, if you're not a drug addict when you get here, chances are you're going to be when you leave. Okay, you're fighting the war on drugs with the border. You need to be fighting the war on drugs in federal prison. And with all due respect, I deserve to be back out in the world, and I could do a whole lot more better out there than I can in here. And I wish you would, I don't even need a full pardon, because I look up to you. You're a convicted felon as the President of the United States. Just commute my sentence. If the government doesn't want to lose this conviction, just commute my sentence to time served. 7 years of my life for nothing. I've given up. Just give me time served and let me go on my way. I don't need to carry a gun. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. If you can become president, I can finish out what little bit of life I have left as a felon.
Wow. Okay, Joe.
Here's a little song from the Tiger King. I want you to hear it. Beautiful Man.
Woke up this morning with the sunshine in my eyes. All the clouds are gone and took the rain that came inside. I can't believe the way I feel about the day. All the bad is gone and all the good is here to stay. All the reasons I can point to and all that I can see, because you love me, because you love me, because you love me.
Well, I love you, Joe Exotic, and everybody in the state of Oklahoma misses you and loves you too. And we can do better than that. We let all these illegal aliens go through our country and put drugs all over the place and do bad things, but you arrest our damn gay Tiger King. You want to talk about gay rights, really? You arrested our gay candidate for governor who had more tigers that were happy than any other person that had tigers in the United States. Guy that actually got in there with his tigers, and you could tell that they loved him. The only person like this. So does it piss me off? You damn right it pisses me off. I'm glad we freed Leonard Peltier, but let's get the lead out of our ass and let's get Joe Exotic a full pardon. He ain't no damn criminal. He's a lovely human being, and used to run a beautiful zoo for the kids in the community in Wynwood, Oklahoma, right up I-35, in between Dallas, Texas, and Oklahoma City. Who in the hell do you people think you're fooling? In my opinion, I think that Stitt thought this man was probably a threat because he could have easily become the next governor of the state of Oklahoma, mark my words. And it's called because he had charisma, and he still does. And that's just one of his songs, but everybody in Ardmore, Oklahoma, everybody around loves and misses Joe Exotic. And, this ain't no criminal. He was just the neighborhood gay man that had big cats and loved everybody. And it's just a shame that this is how we treat good Americans while we let 30 million illegal aliens run across our country and plant fentanyl everywhere. And this is what you do to the man that's got the exotic farm on I-35. Really? So as far as USAID, as far as all this fraud and everything that we've been doing, as far as probably most of the people that are in jail, I think we need to examine it, because why are we letting 30 million illegal aliens run free while you're locking up Joe Exotic? You know, why are you letting all these people run free and you got like millionaires and billionaires with ankle bracelets on? Let's understand that this war is a war between illegal aliens and Americans. Every day we're apprehending about 1,000 illegal aliens. At the end of this year, that is going to be 365,000. I want to remind America we're looking at 30 million. Those figures aren't adding up. We need to deputize all Americans, reinstate it to where everybody that is an American can hold a gun, become a deputy, because with 30 million men, that's almost a 60 million population, and we need to be damn serious as far as how to keep our country safe. And when I think of safety, I'd rather have this dude here behind me, my gay buddy up the street with a gun, than some illegal alien working for a cartel. What about you? Anyways, my name's Chris Sanders. I want to thank you for joining me here at the American News Network. Please like, share, subscribe, and spread this message if you can. They'll probably try to block a lot of stuff for the royalties on Joe Exotic's song, but I hope, if anything, they just make it somehow to Joe in his prison cell. And just know that all of us up here in Oklahoma, we love you, Joe Exotic.